Today, Stoicism is widely presented as a psychological toolkit. It is taught as a method for emotional regulation, a precursor to cognitive behavioral therapy, and a framework for building mental resilience. Take Admiral James Stockdale. He is one of the most famous modern practitioners of Stoicism, relying specifically on the teachings of the Greek philosopher Epictetus. Shot down over North Vietnam, Stockdale spent years in a prisoner of war camp. Under conditions of extreme isolation and torture, he applied Epictetus's mental frameworks to maintain his psychological integrity and survive. But Epictetus was a late-stage Stoic teacher. 3 centuries earlier, the Greek founders of the school, men like Zeno and Chrysippus, were not writing self-help. They were producing dense, highly technical treatises. Viewing Stoicism purely as a modern life hack ignores the massive foundational system of physics, cosmology, and propositional logic that the ethics were actually built upon. We see this misconception most clearly with the Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius. His personal diary forms the bedrock of what most people today consider Stoic philosophy. Along with Marcus, we rely heavily on Seneca, an imperial advisor who wrote extensively on practical ethics and moral behavior. Neither of these men actually founded the Stoic school. They wrote centuries after the original system was engineered. Between the technical founders in Hellenistic Athens and these late-stage Roman authors, there is a gap of roughly 300 years. The foundational texts detailing the actual mechanics of the Stoic universe were lost to history. Only the practical, late-stage diaries and letters survived intact. To truly understand the ethical advice of Marcus Aurelius, we must reverse engineer the physical blueprint of the universe designed by the original Greek founders. The easiest way to understand Stoic physics is to look at their primary rivals, the Platonists. They completely disagreed on the question of what actually exists in reality. Plato argued that invisible, incorporeal forms float in a higher, spiritual realm, dictating the properties of our physical reality. The Stoics rejected this entirely. Aligning with the giants from Plato's writings, they dragged everything down to the physical earth. They established a strict metaphysical axiom: only bodies can act or be acted upon. This rule has radical consequences. If the soul causes the physical body to move and can be affected by physical things like alcohol or disease, then the soul itself must be a physical, material object. The same logic applies to abstract concepts like virtue or justice. They are literal, physical conditions within the material mind. Under this rule, even God is a physical, material entity. By forcing all spiritual and moral concepts into the material realm, the Stoics built a radically unified universe where every single thing interacts through direct physical causation. If absolutely everything is material, you immediately run into a structural problem. What physically animates a living, thinking being versus a dead rock? The Stoics answered this with a substance they called pneuma. It is a literal physical compound of fire and warm, elastic air that permeates the entire universe. Every object contains pneuma. Its complexity is dictated entirely by the specific physical tension, or tonos, of the pneuma inside it. The first tier is hexis, where low-tension pneuma provides basic cohesion to hold a stone together. Increase the tension and you reach phusis, enabling biological growth and plant life. Higher tension creates psyche, generating a physical soul capable of perception and self-movement, found in animals. The final tier is logos. The highest, most complex tension of pneuma produces human rationality. The Stoics defined human reason as a highly tensioned physical fragment of the cosmic material itself. The Stoics applied this logic to the entire cosmos, viewing the universe as a unified body animated by this same divine physical fire. The Stoics described the initial cosmos as a singular, perfect point of divine fire initiating creation. During expansion, this fire condenses into physical elements, building the varied cosmos with rocks, plants, and animals. Eventually, the elemental fuel exhausts itself. This leads to the conflagration, a violent, inevitable collapse back into pure fire, starting the cycle over again. Because the universe is a physical machine driven by an endless, perfectly planned cycle, every single event within it operates on a closed, determined causal loop. This brings us to the hardest technical problem in Stoicism. If the cosmic cycle dictates a fully determined material network, where is human agency? Critics immediately raised the puppet objection. If every action is caused by the universe's predetermined master plan, humans cannot possibly be blamed for their vices. To defend their system, the Stoics developed a concept known as compatibilism, the idea that strict physical determinism and moral accountability can coexist. Chrysippus explained this through a physical proof. He placed two distinct objects at the top of a hill, a perfect cylinder and an asymmetrical cone. Both receive an initial push representing fate, an external cause completely out of their control. The cylinder reacts to the push by rolling perfectly straight and true down the hill. The cone, however, reacts by wobbling and spinning erratically in a circle. The core logic here is exact. The initial push was predetermined by fate, but the type of reaction was dictated entirely by the object's own inherent physical shape. This maps directly to human behavior. Our environmental triggers are fated, but our response is generated by our specific internal character. We are physically determined, yet fully accountable, because our actions are the direct output of our own unique material architecture. Understanding these mechanics reveals how the ancient Stoics structured the study of their philosophy. They compared their system to a living egg. The shell is logic, the framework preventing errors. The yolk is physics, the engine of material mechanics. The white is ethics, the ultimate practical output. You cannot extract the ethics and expect them to function without the physical engine that grows them and the logical shell that protects them. We can now return to Marcus Aurelius and the Lyran view of his personal diary. Marcus was actively executing Chrysippus's physics, treating every entry in his diary as a laboratory for material logic. When Marcus controls his temper against a political rival, he is consciously recognizing himself as the cylinder facing an external push. He uses his high-tensioned pneuma to process that fated push so that his material character rolls straight. Admiral Stockdale survived using this exact same framework. He used his internal physical logic to withstand the extreme external force of the POW camp. Ancient Stoicism was an uncompromising claim about the material architecture of reality. It proved that true resilience doesn't come from ignoring the mechanics of the universe, but from aligning your physical character perfectly within it.